Hi everyone. As you can tell from the title of the video, I will be talking about my car adventures in the Midwest because I did live in the Midwest for probably about 3, 4 years ish. You know, most I did mostly in South Dakota and Nebraska. All right, and there were quite a few adventures over there, mostly with cars. Now, one thing for those who may not know about me is that I'm a little bit of a scaredy cat when it comes to driving. I'm actually doing a lot better than before. You know, I used to be so scared to drive. And like back when I was in Philly, I would say I just became the chicken of Philadelphia. And back when I was in New York, I was the chicken of New York. So that should tell you a lot about how what a big chicken I was when it comes to driving. That's when it comes to driving. And so now I'm in Lancaster. I don't feel so much fear in driving. Maybe because also the people here are much nicer, you know? I mean, granted, there are still New Yorkers. And I say New Yorkers because from what I've heard from people, there seems to be a lot of um ex New Yorkers moving to Lancaster to live in. So I get a mixture of beeping and rude people driving, speeding right by me. And then I get a lot of nice people that like will slow down, and let me pass by. Yeah, I know, like it's a mixture in Lancaster. But yeah, so I can be quite a chicken when it comes to driving. And so back when I was in the Midwest, I wasn't that scared in terms of driving in like the small towns and cities because obviously there's not that many people. But if you know the layout of those states, um most of the time you're driving on highways, and I say highways with quotation marks because is that especially in South Dakota, that was so interesting. South Dakota, like literally, I always thought to my head, like you can literally drive on the highway for 5 minutes, stop your car, have a picnic on the highway, you know, like with no bother, and no one's gonna be behind you or in front of you for like literally 5 minutes. Now, why did I live in the Midwest, you may ask? Like where there's literally no one and it will take you 2 hours to go to the nearest city. Yes, and you're gonna notice I use a lot of quotation marks when saying town and city because I grew up 30 years of my life in New York. I lived on Long Island. Um, so and if anyone have lived in Long Island, you know that it had changed a lot. Um, but even in like back when I first moved in, I think we moved to Long Island around when I was 5 years old, more or less. Even then, there were still a lot more people than in the Midwest. So that should tell you a lot um, of how isolated and unpopulated the Midwest is. Um, it was for work. Um, at that time, it was around 2016. I finally had my teacher certification in New York. I wanted to be an English teacher in New York, and especially in New York City. But both on Long Island and in New York City, it was so difficult for me to get a teaching position. Like, it's really funny how, they tell you in New York, like, oh, we need teachers. Oh, yes, come here, please, please, teachers. Yeah, that's BS. Yeah, that's BS. You know, what's really the message is? Oh, yeah, yeah, we really need teachers, but we want to make sure that you're the really qualified teachers, that you're the really expert, um, immaculate teacher. If you're not immaculate, if you're not perfect, then yeah, we don't want you. Like, seriously, like, that's the truth. Let's be honest. South New York, like, that is really the truth. Like, maybe in like upstate New York or something, they might be more near, they might be more like desperate, actual desperate, as in like we need teachers. Like, seriously, we'll take you anyone. And like, even if you're like trying to be a teacher for the first year, like we will try to help you with that. Yes, we'll take you. Like, but that's not New York. That's not South New York. That's not New York City. And that's not Long Island. They want immaculate teachers. So yeah, I was applying for both New York City and Long Island. I have applied for God knows how many jobs. I think last time I checked, it was 50 teaching jobs that I applied for, but it probably was a lot more. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like 500 or something. Like, seriously, that's how many times I have tried to apply for a teaching position in New York at that time. And I also was tutoring at the time too. But again, tutoring doesn't make a lot of money. Us teachers know that. It's just pennies. It's just something to do for the time being until we can get our real teaching position. So I was thinking, you know what? If New York doesn't want me, fine. I'll look out of state. I'm about to look out of state. I was like literally this close to go out of the country. Um, At that time, though, I wasn't that comfortable with that idea because I don't know how it is living out of the country. I have a illness at that time. That's when I learned about my illness. And at that time, I wasn't disabled like I am now. But yeah, like even back again that time when I wasn't disabled at all, I still wasn't comfortable with the idea of um living overseas. I so badly wanted to, and I tried to look to see like, how's their health insurance over there? What about like treatment for people who have this condition and stuff? But I couldn't find anything. So at the end, I just gave up on that and just like, okay, I'm gonna look out of the state of New York. I need to look for something out of the state. And I found this website called teachersteachers.com. I will put the link down below. I don't know like if they're still doing the same thing they did back then. I mean, they still have the websites, but it looks so different to me than it was back then. Um, but I'll link it down there in case you're interested. Um, so yeah. So I checked out this website called teachersteachers.com, and first job I got first person that contacted me was from Alaska, and he was looking for teachers who were willing to come to Alaska to teach over there. It looks like it was to teach the indigenous students over there. I'm not 100% sure. It's been many years, so I don't remember too well. But yeah, it's been 10 years now that I think about it. Ooh. But yeah, so I talked to this person. We were communicating. Um, Basically, it was either I was going to live the living situation was completely different to what I was used to. I would either be living in an apartment, like a regular apartment, but I'll be either living with other teachers, or I could be living on my own um, at a trailer. You know what trailers look like. They like the cars. I mean I don't know what you want to call them, buses, cars, whatever, and you live in that little trailer. Now, the interesting thing I learned about that, which is like, okay, yeah, of course I would want like to live alone, so I'll take a trailer. Well, here's the thing. Um, if you live in a trailer, you're gonna have to manually, excuse me, manually clean your toilet. Yeah, like I'm like, I have to manually clean my toilet? So, yep, you have to manually clean your toilet. That's what the guy told me. I was like, let me think about that. Cause like, yeah, I mean, I don't mind having to clean my toilet, but manually clean a toilet, like I don't even know how to I don't know how to manually clean a toilet, And then what? I have to what I'm understanding is you probably have to take your piss out and dump it somewhere, and that also includes your poo poo. Oh my gosh, this is so disgusting to talk about. Yeah, like thinking about this is like, ugh. And then, like, of course, yeah, okay, I would then probably pick the apartment living with other people, but I also wasn't comfortable living with other people at the time. I wasn't used to it. The only people I have lived with, all my life is my family. So to be moving to somewhere where I have to live with other people, I don't know how that's going to be. Um, so anyways, at that same time, that's when another person contacted me, and she was a superintendent of a school in South Dakota. And she mentioned that the classroom sizes would be about 9 students or 10 students, more or less. And, that everything, it will be here. I had to ask her because, after my conversation with the agency in Alaska, yeah, I had to ask her, y'all have running toilets, right? Y'all have electricity, right? Like, I gotta make sure, like, y'all have all those essentials that I'm gonna need to survive, right? And yes. Hi. So it's the next day, as you can tell, because I have a different sweater on. Um, so yeah. Sorry for having to stop. My friend and his roommate were coming in, and they can be pretty loud, especially the friend. Um, he's pretty loud at times, so I had to stop. Plus, I had to get um ready. I had to cook my meal for dinner. So yeah, didn't have time to record again until now. So I lived in a small town, about 300 to 500 people in this small town. It was about 45 to an hour away from North Dakota, so I was up there, like no kidding. And yeah, the it what it had there was, I think, it had a grocery store. Yeah, a small grocery store. Definitely nothing like a super Walmart or whatever is big for you. It was a small grocery store. There was also a restaurant there, and then there was another, I think it was like a restaurant or more like a place where you can get food and other little things that you might want, out there. I'm not 100% sure. I do remember getting ice cream over there and some other things that maybe from Canada, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't even know if it was authentically Canadian. I just know there was cheese curds over there. Definitely cheese curds. But I don't know if they were authentically Canadian. So don't quote me on that. There was a gas station. I say a gas station like that because really it was just a place where you can put gas in your car. That was it. Anyways, I South Dakota called and I mean the school in South Dakota called me, and they asked me if I was interested in teaching over there as an English teacher. Now, something I didn't realize until a little later on, I was going to be the only English teacher in that town, in that school. It was a small school. I don't remember how big the population of students were, but I do remember, like, as an English teacher, I had to teach all of the middle and high school um, grade students. So I taught from eighth grade till 12th grade. And yeah, I do remember for the graduating 12th graders, the graduating class was 6 students. Yeah, so that should give you a clue as to how small the community was and how small the school was. Um, so yeah, and I was the only English teacher. On top of that, remember now, I said I was also, this was going to be my first year teaching. And I did have a mentor, but at that time she was pregnant. Um, which is okay, fine. She she finally gave birth to her child, I believe around September or October, around that time. And unfortunately, there was some complication with her child, so that it was even more of a problem because that meant that she would be at home taking care of the child while I'm having to fend for myself. Like, yeah, I there was no other English teacher there. I did get along with the science teacher there. But the thing is, the subjects are different. English is different from science. With English, you're teaching writing, reading, grammar, um, essay writing, literature, probably some history mixed in that because of the literature, whereas science was on the body and nature, biology, and what else? Astronomy, so it's like two different things. Even the way we teach and the way um, we give work to the students are going to be different. So it was not helping me that I really wasn't getting help, over there as a first year teacher. But I don't really want to talk much about that because that experience, it wasn't the best experience for me. Um, Part of it was my fault. Part of it was the situation, and what I do want to talk about is the driving over there. Oh, my driving skills. Remember now what I had said earlier that I am the chicken. And actually, I wasn't actually that much of a chicken over there, but it was just comical. So let me just talk about maybe the first one of the not, I don't know if it's the first experience, but one of the experiences I had. We'll talk about the time when I was going to the airport to go back home to New York at the time. So, you know, obviously I had to drive all the way from, as you know, I had to drive all the way from my little small town that's like almost at the edge of North Dakota till this nearest city over there. Back then it was Rapid City that it was. Yeah, I had to drive 2 hours away or more actually. I don't remember. Um, Now the days before my drive over there, my roommate was telling me like, "Oh, there's gonna be a storm over there," and I was petrified. Like, why? Because again, we're talking about a chicken here who is not used to driving in the Midwest. So yeah, um, I ended up driving a day earlier than I wanted to. I wanted to actually drive on the day that my flight was on, and then just go take the flight. But because of the snowstorm, I ended up getting there an hour before. I mean, not hour before, sorry, a day before. Um, so yeah, and supposedly it was going to be a big nasty snowstorm, which wasn't so great. On the last day that students had before the winter break, I think it started snowing, if I'm not mistaken, um, early in the morning. And it started snowing a lot. Like you can see from our windows and stuff, like it was a lot of snow. Um, I don't remember once, the students started to get ready to leave home and stuff, and school was being dismissed and stuff. That's when I got into my car. I went to my rental, my house, which was not far actually. It was like literally across the street from me. Yeah, so I drove across the street from me to get my suitcase and everything else I needed. And then I, you know, got everything, make sure the doors were somewhat locked. I try my best. And that's a different story. Yeah. So one door will lock in where I lived. I lived in a rental house, okay? So one door will lock. The other one though didn't lock. Now I remember when the landlord told me about this, he was like, "Oh, you don't gotta worry about it. Most people they don't lock their doors here." Yeah, you're telling that to a New Yorker, like, I'm not really that comfortable. But of course, I just went through with it. I never touched the front door. Like maybe one time I went through the front door, but most of the time never, because I didn't want anyone to think, oh, the front door opens, then it's not locked. It doesn't work. you know I was scared. So I always went through the back door that does lock, so I can make sure. And I definitely made sure I locked that door. Um, yeah. So, but yeah, I locked the back door, closed the front door, making sure that no one, you know, can know that it was pen making sure that no one knows that you can open it. And got all my things and then drove out into the highway. So what I remember is when I finally drove up to the highway, there's the stop sign before you have to make, I think, either I make a left turn. I feel like I had to make a left turn. Yeah. So, go up to the stop sign and make a left turn, and then you're out of the small town, you know, that I was living. And I was freaked out because I have never seen snow drifted on the roads. Like I've never seen snow just go right through the roads and just like was no big deal. I'm like, can I drive through this? Like, am I gonna slid or something? I wasn't sure. I was so scared. So I'm driving slowly. I think I drove like 30 miles per hour. Yeah, that's how slow I was driving. 30 miles per hour, maybe 40 at the most part. Because again, I'm not comfortable. This is the first time I've ever seen snow drift like that. you know? And so I'm driving through slowly and stuff, making my turns, scared. I don't remember if I put on music or anything. Probably not, because I don't know how to work. Back then, I had a car or found someone in town, and they pay. I think I paid $2,000 for it, which is pretty good, compared to New York. Like you get a used car in New York, or I remember even like the used car I have right now, if Philadelphia, that car was $10,000. It wasn't cheap. Yeah. Um, so yeah, like $2,000 for a car and it works? Okay, I'll take that. Um, I thought I saw light when I got out of the place I was in. There was light. Um, still light when I finally started moving to get out of the place I was in. Um, it was a gas station, yeah, that I ate at and stuff. So I thought I saw light by the time I got out of the gas station that I was in, but yeah, it turned dark really fast like that. And I remember very clearly as I was driving through the road, I had the GPS on, by the way. And the GPS told me to make a right turn. Now, I didn't know because again, it's dark. And another thing you should know about it being dark in South Dakota, in the roads over there, they don't have street lights like we do in New York. So, when you go on the highway in New York, especially in New York City and stuff, or wherever around, there are all lights. Like even on the highway, there are lights, especially at nighttime, on. Um, Maybe it's like the poles, they have the big pole with the light on there, and especially at nighttime. So at 12 o'clock at night, you're gonna see light that's lighting up the whole highway. You know, so you can still see the highway. In South Dakota, you're not seeing the highway. You're basically driving into a dark pit. There is nothing over there. And if you do end up seeing light, it's like very rare that you'll see light on the road. Most of the time, the only light you will see is the light coming from your car or the light coming from the other car, either in front of you, coming towards you, or behind you. So that's how little light there is over there. And so I'm trying to drive with the GPS with only the light in my car. The GPS tells me to make a right turn. So I'm trying to look at the road very closely, making sure, hold up, do I make a right turn here? I made the wrong right turn. I didn't know this at the time, but there were two roads where you can make a right turn at. Wonderful, huh? Two right turns, and the GPS telling me make a right turn. Yeah, that wasn't helpful. So I ended up making a right turn, and all of a sudden, the GPS leads me to an unpaved road. That's another thing you should know about South Dakota. They have a lot of unpaved roads, and I didn't know that. And I did not want to drive in an unpaved road at all. I did not. That freaked me out. But I had no choice because the GPS was telling me to drive through this unpaved road. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna listen to GPS, but I'm freaked out, you know, driving through this unpaved road. Finally, I get to a town, thank God, and I'm feeling like regular road, um, paved road, thank God. So I'm driving still, but then I ended up be on another unpaved road. And again, I did not want to do that. I tried going back to the road I was in before and stuff, but there's no way to go back. I didn't know how to go back. And I didn't know, again, it's like pitch black over there. Like I can't really see anything except for the light in my car. So I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to drive through this? I just ended up listening to GPS, but I was so scared. I did not like it. The only again, like only the light in my car, the light in my car was helping me to drive through this. And oh yeah, it was also lighting the signs. So I didn't know, but there were signs up there telling you what to do, what not to do, or something. I don't know. Typical road signs, basically. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm on this unpaved road, you know, with the only thing you see while driving this unpaved road is these road signs on there, you know. The only light you see is my car light. I mean, I'm laughing at this now, but back then I know I was freaking out. I was crying actually. I cried. I was like, oh my God, I want to get here. Ah, ah. Yeah, I was crying. Like, where the hell am I? I'm still driving. I'm like getting mad at the GPS because, like, dude, where are you taking me? Take me to a paved road. Yeah, it was so scary. Finally, I see this house at a distance from me. Like I see this, I'm driving on the road and I also see this house, like, kind of in front of me, like to an angle, maybe toward the right. Yeah, it was to the right. It was the only house, and it was the only house that had light on, so thank God. And I'm like, you know, I see nothing else. I only see these black figures, like mostly like barn houses, maybe, or something like that. So yeah, so I see this house. Now I had no choice. Let's be honest. Again, I'm on an unpaved road. I'm scared. I'm crying. Like the only signs I see are the little road signs over there. You know, the only light I see is my car light, and then of course now the light that's coming from the house. um, at this point, that was my savior, the house. Now, a part of me did started thinking like, because okay, so let's go back a little bit. Maybe when I talked to her on the phone or something, but I had a friend who she was talking about how it'd be like to live in the Midwest. And it was like stereotypical type talk, you know? I think she was talking something about like people shooting things with their guns and stuff. And I thought like maybe I end up seeing the KKK. Like having her talking to me about all the horrible things I'll see, like, oh, you might see someone getting some action from the animal. I'm like, oh my gosh, And my thought was the KKK. My thought was seriously the KKK. Because I think she did mention something about racism over there, and so I was like still so scared. You know, I thought like, okay, I hope that guy is not racist. I hope he doesn't, and again, you guys, I get it. I'm a white Latina, so I could pass for white. I hate that word. I hate that phrase, passing for white. I don't like that. But yeah, even so, the Midwest, they can tell the difference from your accent if you're from around here or not. And especially my students, they could tell that I was not from around there. So, like, even that is gonna throw them off immediately. Like, why this girl from New York, this girl that has like a New York accent, is on the road crying and asking me for directions? I don't know. That's just my thinking. And then I'm thinking also, what if he's the KKK? And I all of a sudden see this man in a white gown with a pointy hat on top. Oh my gosh. I just have to laugh at this. So, but I had no choice. I was gonna go over there. Hopefully, the people are nice there and they don't kill me. And I knock on the door, and this gentleman, this big guy, um, comes out. I think he was hairy. I think he had a beard or something. I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember too well. But yeah, it was big. This big guy, white guy with a beard, and I come to him and was like, oh, I need help. I don't know where the highway is. You know, like I was lost basically. And the guy, like, he looked shocked. He was like, huh? surprised. I guess because normally not a lot of people stop by there. But then when he heard like my situation that my GPS is telling me to do this and I'm lost and stuff, he was like, "Oh, well, just keep driving down this road over here and you'll see the highway to your left and you'll just turn left and you'll be on the highway." So he was nice and he told me the directions like, "Thank you," and I got back onto my car. Still was a scaredy cat, but you know, now that I got somewhat of the directions, I still have my GPS on and then just drove the way he told me to drove. And eventually I did get on the highway, made the turn, got on the highway, and tried to drive as fast as I can through the highway. It was still a long way to go, at least in my opinion. It just felt long, and I had to drive fast on the highway. And finally, like as I got closer to Rapid City, lights did start coming on. I start seeing lights and a lot more lights. Thank God. And I just kept driving until like I got to Rapid City. Now, I didn't have a hotel room rented or anything. Like I just was there early because my friend told me to go there early, but I didn't know if there was going to be a place over there that I can um get a room in for just a day or anything. So, the the first hotel that I saw, I immediately just went in there because I wanted to get out of the road. It was scary. Hell no way, Jose. you know. Um, and I talked to the person over there and I asked them like, "Oh, do you have a room, please? Can I get a room?" And of course, thankfully, they told me yes, I can get a room. I also asked them if I can leave my car here in the parking lot because scary driving with the snow and in the honestly and that was late at night driving in the dark you know but like even so like with the snow and stuff like it's still scary because I'm not used to driving in the snow at the time, at least with that much snow, because there was a lot of snow in South Dakota. No kidding. So the guy, he was like, "Yeah, sure. Um, yeah, I believe it's fine. Yeah, just put your car all the way in the back in the corner. It'll be fine." Um, and that's what I did. And so I stayed in the hotel room for that night. The next night, um, I put on my clothes and stuff, and I started getting ready. Now, the other thing too was that because I wasn't going to drive, I needed to get like a taxi or something to pick me up and drop me off. Which the guy at the reception, when I went to get the room and stuff, he told me, "Yeah, we have someone here that can drive you from the hotel to the airport." So that was good. That took a lot of my anxiety out. Yeah, took a lot of the anxiety out. And while he was driving, like while he was driving me to the airport, I saw the good thing. I thought about doing that because the roads over there were, oh my God, what the bleep? They were horrible. It was so much snow. It was so white. I'm surprised the guy was able to see what was in front of him because it was very white and everything was white. And you see the big cars and everyone's driving and yeah, it was pretty bad. I'm surprised though the flight didn't get canceled. Yeah, like he drove me to the airport. I was thinking like I'm gonna hear this flight get canceled and it didn't get canceled. They were like, "Yep, the your flight it's gonna come at 1 o'clock or 1:30. I forget what time. But yeah, it's scheduled to be on time to leave around 1 o'clock. And I left right on time at 1 o'clock. And, I think it took, if I'm not mistaken, so I remember when I was living there in South Dakota, I would have to take two. flights. So I would go from South Dakota to, I wish I could remember what was the other place I had to stop at. Denver or something? Maybe it was Denver. Not 100% sure about that, but I had to go from South Dakota to Denver. And then from Denver, uh, I would go straight to New York. Yeah. So I had to take two flights. It would take, I think that was, yeah, one flight over there. So that technically would take all of one day for me to get back home to New York. So, but yeah, that was an adventure.